I've been making an effort to forget my family ever since I moved away from them 10 years ago. I'm Amelia, and I realized that certain wounds are never completely healed as I watch my younger sister Daphne spin around in her wedding gown in the opulent Grand Plaza Hotel ballroom. Amelia, you are nothing without us. All of it, my mother Miriam exclaimed, her voice piercing the conversation like a knife. I tightened my grip on my champagne flute, trying to remain composed. I owe you nothing, Mother. I created my life according to my own rules. Miriam's eyes narrowed and her well-polished lips curved into a scowl. Before going to bed, do you say that to yourself in a whisper? That you did it yourself? Daphne floated over to our mother, her veil trailing behind her like a cloud. I didn't have time to answer before she chirped, "Oh, Amelia, you made it. I'm so glad." "What do you do again?" I bit back my frustration. "I run my own tech firm, Daphne, as you well know." In response, Daphne waved her hand dismissively. "It's all good. You were able to take some time off from your small business to celebrate your only sister's wedding, which is nice." I smiled, even though it hurt. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Talking about missing things, Noah chimed in, looking around the room. "Where can I find your husband?" "Eli, right?" I whispered to Eli as he arrived. "He's parking the car," urging him to hurry up and join me in this lion's lair. With his arm around Daphne's waist, Clive, her fiancé, walked over to our small group. "How nice to finally meet you, Amelia. Everyone talks about you so much." Even though I didn't believe that, I shook his hand. "Happy wedding day, Clive." There was an extra second of Clive's grip before he spoke. "Amelia, I've been keeping up with the growth of your business. This is really cool. If possible, let's talk about work." It took a moment for Daphne's smile to return, but it did quickly. "Let's not talk about work, honey. We're getting married today." Clive covered his anger with a laugh. "Of course, my love. Just making conversation." Eli's words cut through the stress when I turned around to find him walking toward us, looking great in his suit. "There you are," I said, feeling relieved as he kissed my cheek. Miriam's disapproving gaze moved back and forth between us. "Sounds nice, doesn't it?" The young woman's father comes back with her. Eli smiled kindly, trying to be polite. "Hello, Miriam. It's great to see you. It's beautiful, Daphne." "Best of luck, Clive." I caught a glimpse of Daphne looking at Eli with envy as they made small talk. Whenever I did something she couldn't, she would give me that look. "Sorry you haven't been a part of our lives lately," Daphne said, her voice sickly sweet. "If you hadn't run off to be a working woman, we would have been so close." While Eli held me steady, his hand resting on my back, he said flatly, "I think Amelia's done pretty well for herself." Miriam shrugged. "Yes, well, some of us prioritize family over personal gain." Years of anger and unspoken charges hung in the air after those words. The wedding planner came in and led Daphne away for pictures. I took a deep breath, preparing to defend myself. "Do you think you can just leave your family?" my mom asked as they left. "That's what we did to you." I watched them leave, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Eli squeezed my hand gently. "Are you okay?" I forced a fake smile and nodded. Everything is okay, but deep down, I felt that this was just the beginning. As I looked around the room at faces of cousins I barely knew and the life I'd uprooted, it was clear the past still had something to say to me. As the wedding reception dragged on, I escaped to the hotel rooftop for some fresh air. The stuffiness inside felt suffocating. Eli came over, placing his hand on my shoulder. Do you really think you can leave your family? You are who you are because of us. I could hear Miriam's voice echoing in my head, and the pain of her words still stung. Want to talk about it? Eli asked softly, leaning against the fence. I let out a sigh. It's just being here, seeing them again. It's bringing back everything I've tried so hard to forget. Unwanted memories flooded back. The constant comparisons to Daphne and the cruel comments about my looks and choices. I remembered how, when Daphne walked into a room, Miriam's eyes would light up, while I faded into the background. You are always so dramatic, Amelia. Daphne's voice broke into my thoughts. She stood by the door with a champagne flute in hand, still playing the victim after all these years. I straightened up, pumping myself up. Nothing is a game for me, Daphne. I'm living my life the way I want to. Her laugh was rough and forced. Oh, please. You ran away because you couldn't handle not being the center of attention for once. Is that what you tell yourself? I fired back that I left because I was jealous of you. Daph's eyes got smaller. Why would you leave your family for no reason? To be honest, Amelia, you were too focused on yourself to see how you could help us. Eli took a step forward. He spoke in a calm but strong tone. That's all I have to say. Daphne, today is your wedding day, so why not go have fun? First, she glared at him, then at me. You always did have a knack for getting others to fight your battles, didn't you, Willia? She then turned on her heel and walked back inside. I took a shaky breath. I'm sorry you had to see that. Eli drew me close. There's nothing you need to say sorry for. On the other hand, your sister. I said in a low voice, she's always been this way, competitive and envious. Miriam pushed for it, which made us compete with each other. Eli said in a soft voice, You've come so far, Amelia. Take a look at what you've made. Our family, your business. They didn't do that. You did. He said something that made me feel stronger. So I nodded, but my doubts remained like a poisonous whisper in the back of my mind. In spite of my family, had I really done well? Or was I still that scared little girl who wanted to be liked? Right on time, Clive showed up with a smile that was just a little too big. There you are, Amelia. I've looked everywhere for you. I was hoping we could talk about that business idea. I looked at Eli and then away. Clive, I appreciate the interest, but this really isn't the time or place. He waved her hand. Stop it. At a wedding, there's no better time to talk about the future, right? I have some thoughts that could be good for both of us. His voice was too eager, which set off danger bells. I remembered how he looked at me earlier, the slight look of planning in his eyes. I told him, I'm sorry, Clive, but my answer is no. I'm not interested in any business ventures right now. His smile wavered for a moment, but then it came back. Well, why don't you think about it? In the end, family should help family. As he left, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that his offer was not what it seemed to be. He said family in a way that made me think of a threat, not a promise. Eli put his hand on mine. You okay? I sat up straight. I will be. Come back inside. This night seems like it will go on for a long time. As we walked back into the reception area, I saw Miriam looking at us with cold, calculated eyes. Nobody was going to use me as a pawn in any game they were playing. I had worked too hard to be free to let them take it away now. Now that the battle lines were set, I had to show my family what kind of person Amelia Woodhaker had become. Even though the wedding reception was going strong, I couldn't get rid of the feeling of unease that had taken over me. In my mind, Clive's original proposal stuck out like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. I felt someone grab my arm as I walked through the crowd. You could have been a part of this, Amelia. If only you'd stayed loyal, Miriam said in my ear. Her words were designed to trick me. My voice was low as I turned to face her. What are you loyal to? Mom? Your criticism all the time. Your clear favoritism. She narrowed her eyes. Family, Amelia. Something you seem to have forgotten is your duty to your family. Before I could answer, Clive walked up to me and turned on his charm. Amelia, I tried to find you. I hoped we could talk about that business idea in more depth. I looked back and forth between Clive and Miriam and noticed my mom giving him a small nod. Without a doubt, something was wrong. Clive, I appreciate your interest. But as I said before, I'm not looking for any new ventures right now, I said strongly. His voice went down as he leaned in closer. Amelia, I think you should listen to me. It might be good for both of them. His tone made me feel cold all the way through. I took a step back to make some space. What exactly are you proposing, Clive? He tried to smile, but his eyes were closed. Your tech firm has some impressive government contracts that could open doors for other ventures. Awareness woke up. You want access to my company's connections for what? Clive shrugged and pretended not to care. Let's just say there are certain medical advancements that could use a fast track through regulatory approval. I could feel my anger rising. Is that what this is about? Do you want to use my business to push through iffy medical procedures? Now, Amelia, Miriam said, her voice too sweet to bear. Don't make a fuss. You have a chance to help your family. From Clive. Being useful. Hasn't that been what you've always wanted? I pushed down the old hurt when it came back. I'm not interested in being useful if it means compromising my ethics or my company's reputation. P's front door had a small crack in it. Amelia, give this some thought. In the end, family should help family. There are some things about your life that should not be made public. The threat hung in the air between us, and I got very angry. To protect myself and everything I had worked for. Are you threatening me, Clive? I asked, but my voice was way too quiet. He took a small step back. Of course not. I'm just pointing out the advantages of working together. I stood my ground and looked him in the eyes. I want to be very clear. I will not be forced or scammed into doing anything. My past is gone for good. The present and the future belong to me. When Miriam stepped closer, her voice got low and mean. You're an ungrateful child after everything we've done for you, everything you've done. Years of anger built up inside me, and I cut her off. You mean the constant criticism, the emotional manipulation? The way you pitted Daphne and me against each other our entire lives. People looked in our way, but I couldn't stop now. My life and success were built despite you, not because of you. I will not let you or anyone else make that threat. Clive's smile was no longer there at all. Amelia, you're going in the wrong direction. You have no idea what you're leaving behind. No, Clive, I said, keeping my voice calm. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm no longer the scared little girl you can play with. You'll feel bad if you try to go after me or my business. After that, I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving them speechless. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as I walked back to Eli. I didn't think about my family for a long time, but now I did. Eli met me halfway, and his face was filled with worry. Daphne, what are you talking about? How can I help? She laughed in a mean way. Oh, don't act stupid. It's not right for you. You must have known that we were having money problems. Mom has been trying to get in touch with you for months." Things began to fit together like Clive's persistent business plan and Miriam's sneaky words. I told the truth. I had no idea. No one told me anything. Daphne's armor broke, showing a weakness I hadn't seen in years. "Rattel, we're going to die. There's no truth to Mom's medical bills, Dad's lost investments, or this wedding." I felt a little guilty, and then I got angry. "What? You thought you could get me to bail you out of going to the wedding of my sister?" Daphne yelled. We didn't know what else to do, her voice getting higher. "You're the one with a great job and flawless life. We hoped and thought that you would step in and save the day." As I finished for her, I thought about how I had been treated like I was nothing for years. There was a mix of shame and anger in Dee's eyes. "You gave up on us, Rachel. You left and didn't come back." When I felt too upset, I took a deep breath and tried to cool down. "Daphne, I had to leave because I had to stay alive, to make something for myself," she yelled. "And now you won't even help your own family." I told them, "You can't force me to do this. No matter what kind of financial mess you're in, I won't fix it." Daphne went from being desperate to being angry. "That's it. You're going to ignore us once more." Clive walked in with his arm around Daphne's waist. Before I could answer, "Ladies, is everything okay here?" he asked in a fake happy voice. I saw how Daphne leaned into him, and the happiness in her eyes as she saw him, and then it hit me. Daphne wasn't just financially dependent on this marriage. She was also emotionally involved in a way I hadn't thought of. I slowly told him, "Clive, I think we need to talk about your business plan in an open way." His eyes got a little smaller. "I doubt you're interested. Tell me the truth about why you're really so excited about working with my company," I answered. For a moment, Clive's charm broke. "I told you it's a deal that works out well for both of us. Is it?" I pushed back. "Or is it a last-ditch effort to keep your finances from going bad?" Daphne let out a gasp and looked over at me. Did she say something? I could tell Clive was scared by the way he tightened his grip on Daphne. "It's not a big deal, sweetheart. It's just business." Daphne didn't believe it, though. "No. Tell me the truth. What's going on?" As I watched the scene play out, I had a strange mix of anger and sadness. Just like mine did years ago, Daphne's life was falling apart in front of my eyes. I said in a low voice, "I believe we should all get together and talk about what's really going on here." Clive's face turned serious. "Rachel, you have no idea what you're doing." I stood my ground and said, "No, I think I finally understand everything, and the truth needs to be told." As the three of us stood there in a tense standoff, I understood that this wedding was more than just a get-together for family. My past, the lies we'd all been telling, and the hard facts we'd been putting off for too long had to be faced. The real fight was about to start, and I was ready to face it head-on, no matter what. When Miriam and Daphne joined Clive and me in a quiet area of the reception hall, you could feel the tension in the air. Ely stood by my side, and his presence made me feel safe as the storm was about to break. I asked, "Rachel, what does this mean?" Miriam hissed, looking back and forth between us. "Making a fuss at your sister's wedding? Are you not ashamed?" I took a deep breath to get ready. "Mother, I think it's time for us all to stop acting. Enough with the lies and the games." Daphne's face was scrunched up, and tears were about to fall. "Rachel, please. We can figure this out." "Figure out what?" I asked with a steady voice. The fact that you've been telling lies about your money, that this wedding is just a smokescreen for how desperate you are. When Clive stepped forward, his charm was gone, and he was barely hiding his fear. Let's not get too excited now. It's hard to handle family issues. I told him, save it, Clive. I know about your plans to make money off of my business. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? Miriam's eyes lit up with anger. After everything we've done for you, you dare talk to him that way? Done for me? I laughed because the sound was so harsh and nasty. You mean the years of being abused emotionally? All the time being compared to Daphne? The way you always made me feel bad about myself. These words hung in the air, heavy with pain that had been kept inside for years. People close who had stopped to listen showed shock on their faces. I won't be your scapegoat anymore, I said with a firm tone in my voice. I've made my life without you, even though you tried hard to bring me down. I've been successful. It was easy for Daphne to cry now. Rachel, please. We're family. We need you. I felt a little sorry for them, but I pushed it away. Your family doesn't use each other, Daphne. Family members don't try to take advantage of each other's success. Clive's front finally broke. Rachel, you have no idea what you're doing. The people your business knows and the doors it could open for us. I told him, was it for you? Did you tell Daphne about your plans at all? Or was she just a piece in your game? When I looked at Clive, Daphne's face showed that she was stuck and hurt. Did she say something? I watched as she came to terms with what was happening, as the perfect picture of her fiancé fell apart in front of her eyes. As usual, Miriam tried to trick him one more time. Rachel, old sweetheart, surely we can work something out for the sake of the family. I told him, no, I'm sick of being fake. I no longer feel bad about being successful. I earned everything I have, and you will not take it away from me. When I turned to talk to the people watching, my voice rang through the room. For years, I've let what my family says about what happened define me. I've let their lies and tricks affect how other people see me, but no longer. Ailey squeezed my hand, which made me feel stronger. My name is Rachel Whittaker. From scratch, I built a business that did well. I have a wonderful husband and a lovely son, but I didn't have the help of the people who should have been there for me from the start. The room went quiet, and the weight of what I said hung in the air on the faces of those around me. I saw shock, respect, and sometimes understanding. Miriam's face had turned pale, and the picture she had worked so hard to make was falling apart in front of her eyes. What did Daphne look like? She was torn between her love for our mother and the hard lessons she had just learned. What about Clive? He just stood there, his plans shattered, and his charm mask gone. I took Ely's hand and got ready to leave. I'm leaving this wedding because it's not about celebrating, it's about lies. In desperation, I heard Daphne say, Rachel, wait, in a broken whisper as we turned to leave. But I kept going. I felt truly free for the first time in my life. I was finally in charge of my own story because the power had changed. I knew that the fight wasn't over, but when Eli and I went outside into the cool night air, I felt stronger than ever. There was nothing I couldn't handle. As Eli and I walked to the hotel entrance, the tension from my public fight with my family hung heavy in the air when Miriam's words broke the silence. Do you really think you can forget about us? Family isn't that easy. Her voice was a mix of anger and desire. As Eli's hand stayed in mine, I turned to face her. Mom, I'm not leaving anyone out. I'm keeping myself and my family safe from your poison. Clyde stepped forward, and all of his charm was gone. Rachel, you have no idea what you're doing. The people your business knows could save us all. What are you being saved from? I challenged because I was getting impatient. Clive looked around the hallway quickly and nervously before he leaned in and spoke less loudly. Rachel, I'm in trouble. Big trouble. There are important people who are very interested in the kind of access your business could offer. All of a sudden, the pieces fit together. Are you not just looking for business contacts? There is something illegal going on here. Daphne let out a gasp, and her eyes went wide with shock. I asked Clive, "What does she mean?" Clive's calm broke down completely. "Daphne, it's not what you think. I used my sister's business to protect us and make sure our future was safe." "What? What? How? To launder money?" "Trading on inside information." With each claim, Daphne's voice got louder. As I watched my sister's perfect world fall apart, I felt both angry and sorry for her. But there wasn't time to think about it, because Clive was about to make one last impossible try. He begged, "Rachel, please. I can make it worth your time if you just sign off on a few deals and use your power to get some approvals." Everyone was tense. My voice was steady and strong as I stood my ground. "No, Clive, I'm not going to risk my honor or the image of my company to save you from making bad choices." Miriam, who was always trying to get what she wanted, tried something new. "Rachel, sweetheart, think about your sister. Think about your family. We need you." "Family?" I laughed very hard. "You've never been nice to me like family. You've always seen me as a way to get somewhere else." Daphne walked over to me with tears running down her face. "Rachel, please. I had no idea. I swear I didn't know anything about this. I saw a glimpse of the sister I used to know. For a moment, she was weak, scared, and lost. That didn't change my mind, though. I told Daphne in a soft voice, "I'm sorry, but I can't fix this for you. You need to be able to stand up straight." As Clive watched his plans fall apart, he did one last desperate thing. He grabbed my arm, his eyes wide with fear. "Rachel, you don't know what's at stake here. There will be consequences for all of us if I don't deliver." Eli took a step forward, his voice low and scary. "Don't touch my wife." The tension in the lobby was thick. Staff at the hotel and wedding guests watched the scene with a mix of shock and grim interest. I yanked my arm away from Clive. "Be careful with the mess you're in, Clive. It's not my problem anymore." When Miriam saw that she was losing control, she made one last plea. "Rachel, you can't just leave. We're blood. We're family." For the first time in years, I really looked at her. I could see the woman who had never really known how to love me beneath all the pain and fear. "Mother, blood doesn't make a family," I told her in a calm voice. "They need love, support, and respect, and you've never given that to me." When I said those words, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Never before was it so easy for me to choose between my past and my future. "Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Daphne," I said as I turned to leave. "I hope you figure out a way out of this, but it won't be through me." I knew this wasn't really the end. As Eli and I left the hotel in the chaos behind, people would talk about this night for years to come. But I felt truly free for the first time in my life. I was ready to deal with whatever came next on my own terms. The days after Daphne's disastrous wedding were full of feelings and new information. I was in my office, looking out the window at the cityscape, when my assistant told me that Daphne had come to visit. I hardly recognized the woman in front of me when she walked in. The smooth exterior was gone, replaced by a messy, broken version of my sister. "Rachel," she said with a shaking voice, "I don't know where else to go." Even though my guard was still up, I told her to sit down. "What did you do, Daddy?" With tears in her eyes, she fell into the chair. "Everything is broken. He's gone. Clive is no longer here. This morning, the cops came to our house and asked us about insider trading and financial fraud. It made me feel both happy and sorry for them. I'm sorry, Daphne, but I told you not to trust him." She looked angry in a way that I knew all too well. You knew. You knew and didn't tell me. How likely are you to believe me if I told you?" I spoke back, keeping my tone calm. The fight left Daphne, and she lost her air. "No, I guess not. Everything was too much for me to see. We were angry and competitive with each other for years. So we sat there in silence for a moment. You may have tried to break me," I finally said, feeling more sure of myself, "but your rejection made me stronger. Those years of being judged by you and Mother for never being good enough made me who I am today." Daphne looked up with a shocked expression on her face. "Rachel, I never meant to break you. It was just that I was angry. You've always been strong and on your own. I thought I would never be good enough." I got the irony in what she said. I felt the same way about her for years. A mean laugh escaped her lips. "What a great pair we are." At that very moment, my office door flew open, letting an angry Miriam in. She glared at Daphne. "There you are. Do you know what you did? What a mess you've made. This family looks bad." Putting myself between Miriam and Daphne, I stood up. "Enough, Mom." Miriam's eyes got really big in shock. "After everything, you're still standing up for her?" "I'm not bothering anyone," I said in a calm voice. "I'm ending this harmful cycle." Miriam's angry face changed shape. "You jerk. After everything we've given up." My voice was sharp when I cut her off. "You mean the years of being lied to? The complaints all the time? How you put us up against each other?" Daphne stood up and spoke in a soft but steady voice. "That's right, Mom. This must end." Miriam looked at us both and realized she was losing control. "You kids are not thankful. I've done a lot to keep this family safe." I laughed very hard. "All you've done is split us up." You could feel the stress in the room. Miriam made one last desperate try when she saw that her power was waning. "Rachel, sweetheart, you must be able to see sense now. Your sister needs you. We need you." Taking a big breath helped me get ready for what I had to do. "No, Mom. Daphne needs to be able to stand up straight. And what you need to do is take responsibility for what you did." The harsh truth of what I said made Daphne gasp. She was caught between her deep devotion to our mother and what I said. "Even though you tried your hardest to stop me, I've built my life and my success," I said, my voice getting louder with each word. "You can't bring me down now." Miriam's face turned pale as she finally came to terms with what was going on. "Rachel, you can't just leave your family. We're all you have." A wave of peace went through me as I shook my head. "No, Mom. I have other things besides you. My husband loves me. My son is beautiful. And I've made my own life. I need to pay attention to that now." As if on cue, Eli walked through the opening, his face filled with worry upon seeing what was unfolding. He quickly moved to my side and stood there with me. Miriam looked at us both, and her eyes finally showed that she was sad. The click of her heels could be heard in the quiet she left behind as she turned and walked away. There was no way for Daphne to know what to do. She asked, barely above a whisper. What's going to happen now? I looked at her with a mix of understanding and determination. Now, Daphne, you can do something. You can stay in the shade of Mother, or you can go your own way. But you have to make your own choice, no matter what. When Daphne agreed, tears ran down her face, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Even though the fight wasn't over, I felt truly free from my family's sway for the first time. I was ready to face whatever came next with Eli by my side and the strength I had found within myself. After the crazy few weeks, I found myself standing in our garden, watching Eli and Caleb play catch. Their laughter filled the air, a big change from the stress and drama that had been going on in my life lately. When Eli saw me, he ran over, leaving Caleb to work on his throws. He put his arm around my waist and asked, "Are you okay?" I leaned on him and felt the comfort of his support. Being honest, I said, "I'm getting there. Rachel, let's think about the family we've made. That's what really matters." Eli told me in a steady, reassuring voice, just when I needed it. My phone rang with a news alert. I thought about what it might be about before I opened it, so I didn't rush it. The headline read, "Tech mogul sister's engagement ends in scandal. Financial fraud uncovered." It proved what I already thought. Eli looked at the TV. "Are you going to read it?" I stopped for a moment and then shook my head. "I don't think I will." Just then, Caleb ran up to us, his face red with happiness. "Mom, Dad, look. Now I can throw the ball really far." We turned our attention to our son and watched as he showed off his new skill. I felt proud in my chest, not just for his sports success, but also for how strong he had been during his recent health problems. "Wow, buddy, that's amazing." It was fun, and I forgot about Daphne and Miriam as I cheered. Over the course of the day, Caleb's doctor called us with the news that his most recent test results showed that his health had improved significantly. The news reminded us of what was truly important in life and lifted a weight from our shoulders. As we ate dinner that night, I looked at my husband's and son's faces. Now this was my family, not the bad relationships I had in the past, but the caring, helpful unit we had made together. When I broke the quiet, I said, "I've been thinking that maybe it's time for that vacation we've been talking about. Just the three of us." Eli's face lit up. "That's a great thought. Caleb, what do you say? Are you ready for an adventure?" As we started to plan our trip, our son's passionate answer made everyone laugh and get excited. Later that night, as Eli and I got ready for bed, he looked at me with a serious face. "Rachel, I want you to know how proud I am of you. You're amazing for how well you've managed everything." There was a lump in my throat. I squeezed his hand and told him, "I couldn't have done it without you." While we were lying in bed, I thought about the painful parts of my childhood, how hard it was to get away from my family's bad influences, and how hard it was to build my own life and career. Everything had led me to this peaceful and happy moment. The next time I thought about Daphne and Miriam, I briefly wondered what would happen to them. But then I understood that their decisions and the results of those decisions were no longer my responsibility. I had to go my own way and take care of my own family. I vowed to myself in private that I would always cherish the family we created, that we would continue to flourish and thrive, and that the negative aspects of the past would never overshadow the positive aspects of our future. I felt as though everything was over as I drifted off to sleep. A new chapter in my life, one that was full of love, hope, and limitless possibilities, was just beginning. But the difficult portions of the drama in my birth family were now gone. Tomorrow, we were going to begin organizing our trip. Together, we would continue to construct our life. After that, we might shape each day as we pleased tomorrow. I had not looked ahead to the future with worry or uncertainty for a long time until today. I was confident that we would deal with the issues as a family, not because we are blood relatives, but because we love one another and will support one another no matter what. That, I understood, was the greatest victory of all.